All right, I think we're all live. This is Stevie 5K, Confessions of a Car Salesman. Today's topic is going to be how the business has changed. I started at a dealership in 1985, and people from there would not recognize what we do today. Before I get into the content, I want to ask you, as I always do, to share the video. There's no commercials on here. I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm giving information, and it's good information. The whole reason why I started the whole Stevie 5K page on Facebook is because I got tired of reading people that were in the business for 6 months telling people what's going on in the car business, and the people that were in the business for 6 months don't really have a clue. Now, I started in 1985, as I mentioned. The place was quite a bit different. The GM had started cleaning cars when he was a young lad. One day the sales manager came out and fired the sales force because he was unhappy with the performance. And he asked the car cleaner if he could wear a tie and come in on Saturday. He sold 3 cars that Saturday and made more money than he normally made in a month. The business was so different at that point. We're talking probably 1960-something. Let's face it, 1960-something, your average reasonably small town USA had 3 new car franchises. If you had a desk in one of those franchises, you were going to sell a lot of people a car. One thing they did right is they wore jackets and ties then. As you can see, I still am a believer in that. My first general manager chain smoked at his desk, wore a white belt, and said things like, "Honey, can you bring your husband in with you so we can talk?" It was a different world. There was no training, nothing from the manufacturer. And I can't tell you how different today's business is in that. Now, the number one factor in the change in the automobile industry, it's the fact that it's changed every industry out there. It's the internet. If you think about a business like record sales, or CDs for for those that don't remember records. When I started in the business, you could go to a record store, put on a set of headphones, or get in a listening booth and listen to a particular record before you bought it. Now that information gets delivered to your phone. When I started in the business, performers did concerts to sell records. Today they make records to sell concert tickets. The entire dynamic has changed throughout the entire industry. Same things happen in the car business. The manufacturer has gone from not having much input to the way a car dealership works to controlling almost all the processes. The way the dealership looks, every manufacturer wants their store to look like an Apple store. The way the salespeople look, every manufacturer wants the salespeople to look like the people at Best Buy. You're not going to see me in a golf shirt anytime soon when I'm working. I still like the professional appearance of a suit and tie. The manufacturer thinks if you see somebody in a golf shirt like Best Buy, you're going to assume they're not on commission. Every car dealership, the salespeople are still compensated, at least by the number of sales. Commissions is kind of a misnomer now. It's more of a point. You sold a car, that puts you closer to your objective for the month, and it's how your play plan is based. Not easy to say. There are some major benefits to the internet, to the way the dealership does business. When somebody comes in with a trade-in, and this is an important distinction, the tools that the dealership has, they pay a lot of money for. So when somebody comes in with a trade-in and we want to know what that car's worth, we can see what the car is actually sold for at auction. So in an auction, the car comes down and there could be 50, 100. Now with the internet, there could be 1,000 dealers looking at that car. Do I want to buy that car to sell to my clientele? If I do want to buy the car, what can I pay? Because it's an auction, the highest number goes home with the car. Now, sometimes we have to throw out a couple of the highest numbers because you look at it and you know that the dealership's owner's daughter wanted that particular car, so they didn't make any money when they bought it. But we can see an average of what the cars go for and know that's the real value of the trade. This is not what you look at on the internet for free. Those numbers really are pretty meaningless. You're not paying anything to get them. Those sites are there to sell advertising. The company I work for, the manufacturer I work for, advertises on those sites. And the only thing those sites are built around is how many clicks. Now, when we turn around and want to sell a vehicle, we can price that vehicle from similar information on the internet. We can be sure, and we almost always are, that we're in the bottom 10% for cars with similar equipment and in similar condition in a large radius. We do sell through about 5 states on a pretty regular basis, and we've sold across the country in some instances also. There's another big benefit for a car dealership. There was a book written called The Long Tail of the Internet. 25 years ago, if you took in a Volkswagen Beetle that was a pink car with a high-performance engine in it and a stick, you put it up on your front line, and after a week or 10 days, everybody that was going to drive by that car had driven by the car. If nobody walked in and wanted to buy it, how do you get rid of a pink Beetle? Now with the long tail of the internet, somebody, you can see that's 5 states away and say nobody else has that car. Boom, boom. Hello, is that car as nice as it looks on the internet? That's why we've sold cars all the way across the country. I guess the number one takeaway from this is you should expect a different experience when you go into a car dealership. But that's all the entire experience. You shouldn't expect to go in and spend an hour or an hour and a half negotiating. There may be a few holdouts. You may have a few guys with too many gray hairs that still want to cling to the way business was done before the turn of the century. But most dealerships, the manufacturer puts a number out there, the number of new cars that they have to sell. You can, with email, with a phone, get 3 or 4 prices. If my price is $1,000 more than anybody else, there's no chance that I'm going to sell you a car. So when I show you a price, it's going to be a super aggressive price, and I'm no different than the next salesman as far as pricing goes. I think I do have a difference when I show you the car, get you the right car, but when it comes to pricing, you're likely to get a pretty good price anywhere as you go. The one caveat is I wouldn't recommend crossing state lines. Your local dealer is the place to go, assuming they treat you with respect and give you the right price. Again, if any of this was useful, if I didn't put you to sleep, please share this. It's the only thing I ask out of this. I want to get this word out there. It's why I'm doing it. I appreciate you viewing it either way. And look for me again next week, Wednesday at 5:30. I'll put a blurb up on my site, Stevie 5K, on Facebook. I'm also going to post these on YouTube. But I'll put a blurb up saying what the next one's about. I haven't decided yet. See you next week. Now.